Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eva and today I am wrapping up the comics I have read during the month of April. Two things before I start. I am filming this back to back with my books wrap up, so you might have already heard these. I do have a eye infection and this is why if you see me crying, I'm not really sad, it's just my eye tearing up, but also I do have to apply like a cream on top of it, so it's a bit gooey and yeah, it's not the best of times. I couldn't put makeup on my eyes. I had just to be I'm very careful with what I'm doing in my eye because it was huge and bruised for the majority of last week. So it's getting better, but we still have a long way to go. And also, like, I'm filming these in the most noisy time of the day, a lot of families, kids around, so I apologize for any background noise, but I want to film these, so you know, not to delay the uploading too much. So I did not manage to get through a couple of things. Unfortunately, I ran out of time, it was very busy, and so I couldn't read Monstrous Volume 3, but I have already catched up now in the month of May. And I also couldn't read Rick and Morty, but I will again attempt to push it into May and read it. So those are the only two things I couldn't get around to. As always, I'm gonna put these from my least enjoyable read to my most enjoyable read, which don't necessarily reflect quality. It just means how much I enjoyed the process of reading it. So that's how I categorize them. So yeah, let's start. Our number weather is on top of here, guys. It's been a long day, it's already 7 p.m. So whether you see here, it's a number where we are at. And I will have to put this month The Sandman Volume 7. We know what The Sandman is. I give you proper synopsis in my GBR, so I'm not gonna do it in my wrap-ups. I'm just gonna give you like a one-sentence synopsis and maybe tell you the genre: horror, fantasy, classic horror, fantasy, comic, graphic novels by Neil Gaiman, and you follow Morpheus in his adventures after he's been released from captivity. This is a bit of the art. So in a sense, I think Gaiman has a unique talent of speaking about, or writing about in this case, the human condition and the deeper meaning to life, if you believe that there is any, that is unique to him, and it's like no one does it as good as him, especially in this context. Of a graphic novel, horror graphic novel, is just the introspection into the human condition is outstanding. However, I think I honestly believe I'm not reading The Sandman at the right time in my life, because we are 3 volumes technically from the end of the whole series, the 10 main volumes, and although I am liking it to a certain extent, I am not loving it, and I can see that there is all the elements for me to love this, apart from the art. I think the art is what's jinxing this for me, but I can see that there are layers of this story. I can see there are depths to it that I should really love and I don't, and so this makes me a bit upset, because I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not loving this? I should really love this. In this one, the journey that we go on is quite fun, but the resolution was just like, okay, that's how it ends. Just for me, it's a bit dragging along. I don't understand why. I feel a bit bored at times. I feel like, yeah, okay, what's next? And I know that something's wrong with me. I know that it's not The Sandman. So yeah, I will just give it a first read now, but I do plan eventually, when I feel like it's the right time in my life, to reread this. Okay, the next one is an unpopular opinion because it's quite low in the list, and this is I Kill Giants. This is a standalone graphic novel telling the story of this girl navigating a very tough moment of her life, and at the same time seeing and killing these giants, which you don't know if they're real or not. Because this is a contemporary story, by the way. So, you know, I'm going to show you some of the art. I'm just going to show you these, because I think at the end of the day, the art is basically this. I understand why for so many people, this graphic novel had such like a powerful impact. I understand why it's such a staple for so many people. It's so well beloved. Now, for me, this would be a Monster Call. So what I mean is that A Monster Call did for me what I think these might have done for other people. And because I've read A Monster Call before, I kind of keep A Monster Call as my ultimate standard that these didn't quite reach. for me, unfortunately. I did still really like it. I really appreciated how this showed avoidance and aggression in the face of very intense, unbearable pain. And so that aspect I really loved. I was touched by this story. I just didn't love it as much as I have loved A Monster Called. Just probably the way it was done just didn't call to me as much as A Monster Called did. But I do definitely see why this is so powerful for so many people. I will keep it and cherish it, reread it eventually. But yeah, enjoyment wise, it felt like this was the right place for it. Okay, then very briefly, because I don't have much to say about these, but I've got Morning Glories Volume 5, thriller graphic novel. Let's just say that, with amazing art. I love the art, about this bunch of elite kids attending an elite school, boarding school, that has a very sinister history, and the kids are trapped there. This one was so far the weakest volume, I think, in terms of progressing the story. There is a major twist that I loved, but apart from that one, all of the story felt very like a middle volume, where it was just moving the plot forward just a tiny bit, despite that major thing that happens, which I loved. But yeah, I'm a bit worried on how this is gonna be tidy up in the end because of the confusion that keeps being added on, but we will see. Next, I do have One Piece Volume 2 and 3. Don't take this wrongly, I really enjoyed my time reading these. I was commuting for some training on the train, and I just had the best of time just reading those two volumes back to back. I think when the anime started initially, I had followed the first season or something like that, so I remembered a few of the enemies that we encounter. It was like, oh yeah, I remember that one. I also remember that an enemy would take like 1 billion episodes to be fought and eventually won over, like a bit of like a Dragon Ball, and that was eventually why I probably lost interest in the anime. It's just not my genre of format. However, I do appreciate it more in the manga because it's so fun, but it's a bit translated in there where an enemy takes volumes and volumes, from my understanding, to be, you know, fought and etc. So it has a bit slowed down my enjoyment compared to volume 1, which was very refreshing, but I am still having a lot of fun. I really love how this also packs a punch about, I also really love the message about friendship and loyalty in the face of, you know, enemies and hardships. So I really liked how touching these stories here are. There is a bit about a dog that broke my heart in these. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still continuing on with One Piece. I'm not giving up or anything of the sort. But again, when I was compiling the list, it felt like this was the right place to put this. Then I have Saga Volume 10. I finally continued on. This is a sci-fi about two people from different planets that are at war. They fall in love, conceive a child, and then they have to flee their planets because everybody wants them dead, because this child cannot be. And you know from the beginning that the child survives and is born. And it's intergalactic wars. But it's a very action-packed, but also like about love and friendship comic graphic novel series. Saga have a special place in my heart because it's one of the first graphic novels I actually read, and it really got me into the genre. It really got me into reading more graphic novels because I was just in love with the format of consuming a story this way. So it will always have a special place for me. I do honestly believe that they made a huge mistake with the hiatus that they took. I think I've heard many people losing interest, many people not continuing on, and there is also like certain expectation that keeps building and building when you are absent for so many years and then you return. And I don't think this volume necessarily met all of those expectations. It was way quieter and it felt a bit different. Definitely, you know, the fact that my favorite character is now is not present anymore, it affects the whole vibe for me. But don't take this wrong, I loved art as always. I loved, you know, following the characters, seeing them again, being able to catch up with them. I loved the artwork of, you know, there is a pirate ship in this. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, because when I opened that page and I saw you know, how the pirate ship looked like, I screamed. So that was fun. It was also very touching in the end. My heart broke when the very end hits you. And I will continue on Saga. I will read all of Saga. I can't think of myself ever dropping Saga, but the critiques or the things I said at the beginning still are valid. I think I've mentioned this in my book wrap-ups. For me, it's very important that whenever it's a comic, manga, graphic novel, book, you create an atmosphere. And Saga, without any doubts, with all the critiques you can have, really creates the right atmosphere. Like, it makes me feel immersed in the world. So yeah, I will always read Saga. But I'm curious to see what you thought, if you had also picked this up after the hiatus and read it. What was your impression of it? Then I've got Summertime Rendering, volume number 3, which are some of the most stunning manga volumes, covers at least, that I've seen, but the art is also pretty impressive. And there's another thriller, mystery horror, it says, for mature reader in the back, and you follow a boy returning to the island where he grew up after the passing of one of his best friends, dear person to him. And when he goes there, he finds out that there is something more sinister, something going on the island that also, you know, killed his friend. There is also an anime, and I want to check it out because this is in overall a very complex plot, and although now I'm just at volume 3, things are very confusing for me. I still do not grasp fully all the nuances of the plot and everything that this is about. I still feel like there are many gaps in my knowledge. This was way more action-packed than volume 2, so I liked this way more than I liked volume 2. There is also an element of a bit like a hunting a horrorish place, very sinister place with, you know, a lot of horror elements that were present in this that made me really like this. It's not a long lengthy series, as I keep saying when I talk about these, so I will be done with this relatively soon, and I want to see if the anime, the way it's done, can makes things clearer for me. Also, this follows, like, there is an element of a plot which I can't spoil, but it's not one of my favorite ones. In general, it's something that usually bugs me a bit. Now, because of the art, because of the horror elements, I'm not minding it too much. It's admirable in a sense because I am following a story that uses something like a plot device that I really usually don't like, and it's working somehow, so it's admirable in that sense. But I can't deny it, sometimes I'm a bit like, okay, here we go again. Another one that I can speak about very quickly is Adventure Time. I've read volume number 6, and it started with the history of dinosaurs, and it is hilarious. Adventure Time is always a safe choice. Some of the best colorful art ever. The Ice King, man. I love the Ice King. Jake just makes me just laugh so much. This has so much humor and cuteness and important, simple but very important messages about friendship and loyalty and about we should love each other and love ourselves, and it's just amazing. And also, like, at the bottom of the pages there are always like these very faint comments that the author makes, and some of them are absolutely hilarious. If you want to just have a good time and some adventure time, really, you might want to check out Adventure Time. It's childish, it's for children in a sense, young adults, whatever it is, but I honestly think it's for everyone because it's just hilarious, man. It's just watching like a Simpson episode. Like, you can watch The Simpsons, doesn't matter what age you are. 1721, collection of short story by the same author of Chainsaw Man. And I mean, this manga artist, author, he is like a manga by manga author, as you say. Like, I will read everything this guy puts out. I'm a huge fan of him, and I'm hugely fascinated by his stories and how his imagination can go absolutely wild. And these, I was expecting those short stories somehow to be a prequel to Chainsaw Man. I don't know why I thought that. So it's not that. It's completely unrelated, short, self-contained stories that were hilarious and weird and creepy. And if I had to put them in order, the first one, the third one, the fourth one, and the second one, in order from most enjoyable to the least enjoyable one, But I don't have much else to say. They are just nuts. Like as Chainsaw Man is nuts. Like he screams Fujimoto to me, and that's all I wanted. I read this in one sitting, couldn't stop reading it. Eccentric as I like them to be. JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Volume 3 of Part 1 Phantom Blood, which concludes Phantom Blood, so the first trilogy in this massive series, and I'm gonna show you some of the art. Now, the science behind this is as preposterous as his body proportions. I don't think the author, the manga artist, cares about being accurate or realistic. I think he's just going wild with it, and to be fair, after the disappointment of volume 2, I found this a massive improvement. So once I suspended all belief and I just said, you know what, let me just go with it. This is gonna be absurd, this is gonna be too dramatic and over the top, but I'm here for it. I had the best of times. I honestly debated to push this even further up. I just found this extremely entertaining. Like, I am on this journey, these swashbuckling adventures that make no sense. It's like impossible, and I don't care. I think the author doesn't care, and I think the readers that love this don't care. Like, you're just here to experience something that is indeed absolutely eccentric and ridiculous in a sense, but also so good. Because to create something like this and make it so entertaining and so unique, because, you know, you can hate it, love it, but you can't have, it's a unique series with a very distinguishable style to it. And I personally really enjoyed this. I found it so funny and entertaining again, as I said. I will continue on with phase 2. I know that it gets better, technically speaking. Like, fans of JoJo's usually recognize that the first part is the most weak one, but we will see what I think about these. I don't know, this reminded me of like some awesome fantasy monsters, because I really like the bad guy in these and all the powers that they have, and, you know, the horror elements to it. But it also reminded me, I don't know, like a drama TV show where like super dramatic, horrible stuff happen all the time and there is never a happy ending. Like, something always happens. But yeah, I'm here for it. It's fun, guys, and sometimes all I need is a very fun, entertaining, weird read. The Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, the Omnibus Edition, Volume 3, which contains 3 other volumes. This is a paranormal fantasy where you follow a bunch of kids at university. They are very poor, but they all have paranormal superpowers linked to bodies and death, and they put together a delivery service where they go around and help reunite bodies, people that are either committed suicide, or they are killed, or they just died of different causes, with their families and loved ones, and they get into a lot of mischief by just doing this job, which is a very weird, eccentric job, as you could imagine. And this has an episodic nature, which in the past I've criticized a bit because I'm not the biggest fan of episodic things. However, I didn't mind these at all in this volume, also because like things or like stories would continue in more than one issue in this in particular, so it felt a bit more long. I felt like you had more time to delve into the story and the characters and so on. I really liked some of the themes that are explored in these. The humor is always on point, but also I liked how this references other popular manga that now, because I'm reading more, I am recognizing the Easter eggs. I can see them, it's like, oh, I know that manga or what that is. So I really appreciated that, and I also learn a lot because I think these includes a lot of actually mythology, lore about Japanese culture, especially around death and death traditions and, you know, ghosts and stuff like that, but not exclusively. So I'm learning actually so much about, you know, Japanese culture in general, even if it's the kind of culture I'm very fascinated by, darker, more sinister aspect of the culture, and I really, really love that. I think they have an extensive culture on that, which is not something that we have here. I think death in general is perceived differently, the idea of the other world and what happens to bodies and ghosts. So yeah, I'm learning, I'm laughing, I am just having fun going on this adventure and finding out about these corpses, and I'm also getting more attached to the characters, so it's a perfect match and I'm really loving these. Number 2, no surprises, if you see my TBR you know what's coming. Number 2, we got Doro volume 4. And I feel like in this volume we get to know way more about our main protagonist. I think we are finally getting around to getting some concrete answers. Now we are far from having a clear picture. You know, new threads are added to this very complex plot, but at the same time it's finally giving me some answers, which makes then my speculation about what's actually going on more concrete in a sense, or allows me to speculate more and make up my mind more about potential scenarios of things that happened. So yeah, really loved Toradora as always. Also, this is like the best bunch of horrific, mean boys and girls I would really love to go to the cinema with. And if you read this and you know how this ends, you know what I mean. And at number 1, it couldn't be anything else apart from Berserk. This is the deluxe edition, volume 13, which includes, I'm eating it, volume 37, 38 and 39. So we got 2 more volumes before Miura passed away. And I know that now as I resume with another author, but I am still grieving. I think like this man passing away so early, so young in a sense, it's one of the biggest tragedy of the 21st century in my opinion. For me, I am honestly in mourning, and especially after reading these, which like I was in awe. I immersed myself one morning on a weekend and I didn't emerge until the evening when I was done with it. Now it didn't take me 16 hours to read these, but throughout the day I read it all. I just couldn't stop. Yes, I want to know what happens in the last 2 volumes. No, I've not decided if I'm going online or if I'm waiting or will wait for the deluxe edition to come out before consuming those. Because to be honest, I feel like I've been honored to experience Berserk with such large panels in such a format that really allowed me to appreciate the art, which is without doubt some of the best art I've ever seen in my whole life, not to mention in manga, in this way. And I don't want to rush and then experience the manga in a different format just because I cherish this so much. So I might pace myself and wait, I might not, but we will see. And kids are still shouting outside and I just wish that Guts was here with me and I would make him go and deal with it. No, I'm kidding. Guts has developed so much and I saw such a gentle, understanding and trustworthy Guts finally. Without giving any spoilers, I really saw him change, and the fact that he was now able to let others take over and trust others in these volumes specifically was so heartwarming for me. I honestly believe that Berserk has become part of me. You know, now when they ask me, oh yeah, you read manga, what is your favorite Berserk? Like, I don't have to wait for them to finish a sentence before just giving them my answer. Is always gonna be Berserk, I believe. It's just a story that for someone like me who has grown up with stories and books and comics, lately have been like some of my foundation of why I remain sane in my life. I always found safety in books and stories. Berserk has indeed become one of the pillars of who I am as a reader and therefore as a person, because being a reader is one of my main features. For how absurd these people might think this is, it's actually the truth. Like, it's part of me reading stories, consuming stories. It's part of who I am, and you can't know me without knowing that I love reading and I love stories and comics. There is no way you don't know this about me if you speak with me for like half an hour. So this is how much Berserk has influenced me. Please let me know what you've read in the month of April. What was your favorite read, so I can add things to my TBR, which is massive, so bear with me. I will get around to a lot of your recommendations, but I need time. I just don't have physical time to read everything that's on my to be read list. And yeah guys, it has been as always an amazing month because of all the amazing comics I've read, and nothing has been under the 3 stars, so it's usually very good. So yeah, if you're new, I would love for you to subscribe, hit the button down below. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Ciao.